Fit for Life Radio, episode number 138. Your host here today, Gary and
Will number one.
And we have a guest here with us today who will be Will number two. He is Sir William Richards.
How's it going?
Awesome. So how are things down in Florida?
Dude, it's gorgeous. Like, I'll tell you what, I never knew that a state could be so sunny. Like Virginia, like, it's just all the grayness, the clouds, the rain. And now, of course, in the summertime, it gets nice and bright and green and plush. But, man, here in Florida, it stays like that all the time.
You're making it sound like Washington State.
It's funny because now I relate all the weather. Like, when we have, like, a bad rainstorm or it's cloudy for, like, a day, I'm like, man, Virginia weather, man, this stuff is terrible. Yeah. Like, I always relate to Virginia weather now. Like, that's bad.
I guess the thing about Florida is, like, you can just have, like, on any given day, just a random rainstorm. But, as quick as it comes in, it's just gone.
Absolutely. We have intense. I mean, we had a kid get struck by lightning, like, maybe 10 miles down the road. Like, these storms come in, and they're super intense, and they're like, right over you. And then they're gone, sun's out, streets dry. And it's just back to, like, sitting in someone's mouth. It's just hot and then humid.
I do the same thing when we get a, like, sunny and 75 and no humidity day. Alexis and I, we're always like, this is California weather. I feel bad now. Like, there's no reference of Virginia weather. I guess once you get a nice crisp fall day.
Oh, dude. Cold weather, man.
Yeah. Maybe you'll miss that a little.
Yeah, I do miss it. We'll get a good, like, 40 degrees in like January in the morning, but yeah.
All right.
We don't get cold.
You're in the wrong place for snow, though. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So today we were going to talk about. So Will, we go way back. To the old. I mean, I didn't really know you in high school, but you were a little bit younger, but essentially similar friends. And then as we got into fitness, knew each other. And then you, at one point, came and worked at the Your Time 24/7 Fitness that I had. Mm-hmm. And then eventually,
that's how I met him back in the day.
Then you left for Florida. But, I've always, admired you. You similar to Will, number one here, you got into fitness early, went to ODU. Was that what your degree was in?
Yeah, I went to ODU for exercise science.
Yeah.
Human movement, yeah.
When did you graduate?
I want to say 2010, I believe. I think.
Damn, you were like 1 year ahead of me.
Yeah, I'm trying to, because it was weird. Like, I had to, like, I had to take, like, one class in summer.
Bro, we were on the same track.
Okay.
I was, like, literally a year behind you. I had one credit hour I had to finish in the summer, which was the dumbest thing ever.
I know. Yeah. So I think that's what made it 2010, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, so you were a little bit ahead of me. So I guess that makes sense. I was 20, should have been 2011, ended up being 2012 because of that extra little bit. But
it'll get you.
So exercise science, and then, I know you were, into training like all of us, and we do it to, maybe get girls or something, or feel better about ourselves, look better, and then all it really does is get more guys' attention.
It gets more guys, yeah.
But here we are, like 15 some years later, still in the industry. So, it's other things that keep us going. And I know for you, now you focus on you working with people with back pain, right? And you kind of had your own history with that. So you want to dive into, what your back injury was or how it happened, what you were facing, and then, just kind of how you handled it and what you've gone through with dealing with back pain, which for most people, they eventually have some as they age, which we'll get into, right? So obviously you can have acute injury, acute back pain, and then there's like, the gradual
chronic
stuff. But kind of just start with your origin story with your back issues.
Origin story just still makes it sound like a supervillain or something.
This is how superheroes are made.
Yeah, I mean, Gary, guys, I appreciate y'all having me on here. I know Gary, like, there's probably about maybe like 2 people, if I thought back to like high school time, maybe even middle school, like where like they were very influential on like just getting into the gym just for like the fluff and buff reasons. Like it would be you. Like you were definitely one of those guys. So I appreciate just you over the years and the mentorship and stuff like that. So that's awesome. As far as like my back pain history, like I would say it started in college, and I would just have like some random pains. Like I was, probably the strongest I'd ever been. I was doing the heaviest weight, deadlifting, squatting, things like that. And that's when I kind of started having issues, like randomly, probably like, I don't know if this is a common thing, but at that point in time, I was, I would do a heavy deadlift and I would do something weird, like have the weight too far away from me. And the next day, like other than standing straight up and down, like any kind of bending over to like lean, my whole back would just lock up. Like it'd just be crazy. And that would be like a random situation over the years. And then I would say, man, I'm not good with ages. I'm not sure how old I was, but that transition into it becoming more of a chronic thing, right? Like a constant tightness, tension, that every time I would do exercises, I'd have to like stretch it or foam roll it. I'd try to do something that would alleviate it. Fast forward to messing around with that. Then I went to get an MRI, was told by a local guy there, he's one of the top guys for the spines in Newport News. My MRI showed I had a ruptured L5-S1 disc, and then he had diagnosed me with degenerative discs above that site. So I want to say, again, I'm terrible with how old I was, but maybe I was about 21, 22.
Damn.
I'm 35 now. So yeah, I remember just sitting. It's funny because I have one image of myself in that doctor's office, and I had a mohawk. I think for like 1 week in my life, I had this buzz cut mohawk. I'm like, I was just super young. And I couldn't believe that he was like, yeah, you ruptured your disc. Like, you're not going to be able to do this anymore. You're not going to be able to train the way you train anymore. Kind of what you're looking at now is just pain management and or surgery. Obviously, surgery would probably, for me, be more of like a fusion because I didn't have like a herniated disc or bulging disc at the time. It was just ruptured. So they were like, yeah, we would just kind of fuse you. And then, obviously pain management. So
it's casual.
Yeah, so I didn't want to have surgery. I kind of pushed it off. So I started seeing like chiros and like, massage therapists. I was doing yoga. Everything and anything that I could do to get help, I tried doing. And that kind of led to getting scheduled for my first steroid injection. That was kind of like me getting back into the medical model because what I was doing wasn't working. And I remember like I was in anatomy class and I had my shot scheduled for that day. And just my gut was just like, don't do it. Just focus on what you can control. And that just kind of kept playing in my head. And I ended up calling them and just canceling it. And then that kind of set this trajectory of like learning movement, learning exercise, learning kind of basically just the things that I could control. And, it was a big learning process because like I was kind of focusing mainly on the mechanical side of back pain. I was still in pain. I was still training clients and things like that. And I was in the fitness space. I kind of felt like an imposter kind of thing. But eventually, as I started applying more movement, more of like understanding the body, the mind-body connection, now today with a ruptured disc, with degenerative discs above that site, and we're talking, dude, that's like 9+ years ago. Like I'm chronic pain-free.
Yeah. And I know for myself too, being 37, I have zero chronic pain, but similar to you, and back when I was in my early 20s, I was always in pain. And this goes back to, and tell me if you see this with a lot of your clients and people that reach out to you. And again, everything has a place, but a lot of us start with these forced lifts of like the power lifts of like barbell back squat, barbell deadlift, and just naturally from people's structures, not everyone's there's just more risk in things that can go awry, and I notice now I don't do those lifts. It's probably a big reason why I'm pain-free now, and then back then I would always be hurting, right? Just a subtle shift from going from like a barbell deadlift to a trap bar deadlift or using dumbbells. Do you think, are you in the same camp of like, some of those fixed positions, that a barbell kind of puts you in can kind of, force the issue for some people negatively and
absolutely. I mean, I think with these camps and like what's wrong with kind of how they're putting it on paper and putting on social media is you have the camps of like the very like original, like, our bodies are designed to squat, they're designed to hinge, they're designed to flex and bend, and that's very, very true. Like all of that, I support the fact that we should not say this exercise is terrible, this one is good, therefore we remove the bad and only do the good. I don't believe in that, but at the same time, when you start applying context like squatting and deadlifting, like these take a lot of form and technique. And in my personal opinion, I think if you are like, no, like I believe that I want to be able to squat, I love squatting, then you need to commit to learning and mastering what that looks like. And it's not just doing legs once a week, right? It's not just squatting once a week. Like you have to learn form, technique, mobility. Like you have to build and kind of put your body in the best position possible when it comes to tissue health to be able to squat for longevity and squat pain-free and to be able to include those. But even if at that point you are doing all those things, absolutely, I totally agree with you. I think I don't barbell squat. I will play around with different types of deadlifts, barbell and dumbbell and like kettlebells, things like that. But I think if you can do so many other things other than those two specific exercises with the barbell, and your body will thank you for it for sure.
I think that's the key is almost giving people permission to do those things, because people just think I have to do these lifts, right? Like there's something special. And the reality is they're just part of a sport that's popular, which is awesome. Football's popular, but we don't all go, tackle each other, right? So,
and back in the day, they only had barbells, and so, in the 20s, yeah, of course that's all they were doing, and that's why the foundation was built on it. But then they made cables and bands and kettlebells and things like that as time went on, and like our variety can, like we can go fit, more what fits the person than just like, hey, everybody's grabbing a barbell and doing this lift because this is the only way it's done.
Absolutely.
So with your training over the years and, what was your kind of journey like from when you got out of pain and then you're like, oh, let me try some of these things again, or let me push the limits? Where have you found yourself kind of with balancing no pain, but also knowing where you've been?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's really kind of been a weird process. Like, I know when I was in pain, but getting out of pain, I had more control over my pain, right? Like I was creating a healing environment in my body so that I could do more. A lot of the things that I chose not to do were wrapped around fear, right? I was just afraid to do those things because when I used to do them, they would cause pain. Like any kind of barbell deadlift, or any really kind of loaded hinging, heavy loaded hinging would cause symptoms. Yeah. So it was kind of wrapped in fear. So, due to fear, I just stopped doing those things. I said, I just won't do that. But I think eventually what I learned, that obviously fear is a massive, massive part in anybody's recovery when it comes to a back injury or any kind of injury, knee, shoulder. Fear is definitely involved with it. And I think what I had to do is like put my ego aside and allow myself to take 15 steps back and just do baby stuff, like learn how to hinge again, and not just like, oh, my hinge is broken and I have to have this perfect hip angle to hinge perfectly to be pain-free. No, it's just, again, it's wrapping this fear around it. It's like, okay, can I do this well? Can I do it with just body weight without pain? Okay, I can. Awesome. Let's add a little bit of weight to that. Instead of going like, okay, I can hip hinge without pain, let's try 10 pounds, and then next week I'm doing, 285-pound deadlifts again. Like it's a lot more of a path that you have to take. So that's kind of what I've learned over the years. Like it's like if you're having pain with something at a certain weight, I learned to just reduce that weight, cut back the reps, don't focus on the reps and sets, and just focus on seeing how your body responds. And that alone, and coupled with like building tissue resilience and like kind of progressive overload, that's really kind of what's been the secret to my my own personal pain-free kind of structure now.
Yeah, and one thing with that to touch on, and they're learning more about pain, right? And you mentioned fear, is how much our kind of nervous system can control that, and that a lot of times actual what we perceive as physical pain can really just be your, signals from your nervous system of like warning almost, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, then like you said, the real reality is you have to break down those movement patterns into little pieces, or like you said, 15 steps back to where you can rebuild it without fear. And have confidence which then eliminates those signals that your brain and nervous system's wanting to send, right?
Yeah.
On a very, obviously it's way more nuanced, but maybe hopefully for people listening to kind of grasp that, I think that can make sense for them.
Well, I mean, and to me, the whole mind-body connection and pain and fear, and it starts with education, right? There's things like, there's apps you can get, there's books you can read, which is awesome, but you have to educate yourself on like what pain is and like where it comes from and how our body processes it. And one of the ways that I kind of break it down for like clients that I work with is how I label it is we have our own personal pain alarm system, right? And the way I kind of compare it to is when we, like all three of us, when we first started driving, you could install aftermarket car alarm systems. Like I remember getting a Viper car alarm system on your car was like
classic.
the bee's knees, right?
Yeah.
So the cool thing about those things is you could dial up the sensitivity or you could dial back the sensitivity on those alarm systems, so where you could be that guy who, like, if your buddy with a loud truck drove by, your car alarm would start going nuts because just off the vibration of the exhaust, like, your alarm system would be triggered. Or you could dial it way back to where you'd have to like bust the glass, rip the doors off, just for the alarm system to actually go off in your car. And our bodies are the same way. That's how our central nervous system kind of operates, where we live with chronic pain for so long, we make the wrong choices, we are so fearful around movement that this is dialing up the internal pain sensitivity that we experience. Then it turns into like every time I vacuum, I have pain. Every time I roll over in bed, I have pain. Every time I tie my shoes, I have, and like these basic things that we shouldn't be in pain doing, because of that fear factor, and because of that internal pain alarm system, it's just triggered, it's dialed way up. And that's, you have to first, before you exercise, before you start loading the body, you've got to learn how to desensitize that pain system. And that is like the biggest missing link, in my opinion, when it comes to treating issues with the back.
Yeah, and I feel like with the most common scenario, like that's step one, right? And then step two, so, you have the guy who like hurts his back moving furniture when he's, 33 and he hasn't done nothing since he was 22. And then because of that, he avoids doing anything physical with his back. And then all of a sudden he's 47 and he's like, man, I just have an awful back. And the reality at that point is, you just have a weak back, weak.
And you've been avoiding everything for years.
So you got to break down that fear, and then, okay, now let's actually build up this function, this movement, and have strength so that we can now live our lives, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So is that, where would you kind of, I guess talk a little bit about, because when we talk about this stuff, it's in the context of like deadlifts and fitness and all this, but the reality is it's a means to an end, right? None of us are power lifters or bodybuilders, like fit. So like these fitness, what are seen as like these fitness end goals, aren't really ours or any of our most people's end goals. It's like, hey, I want to work in my garden, I want to play with my kids, right? Talk about your clients and their drive to fix these back pains, and kind of what some of those end goals are that kind of drive you to help people with this stuff.
Yeah, so I think my motto, I guess you could say, or my personal drive is just giving people the tools and the understanding to find their own version of freedom, right? Just you kind of express it in a way of like gardening or playing golf or being police officers and being able to do your job without pain. And it's not so much like tailor making oh, you're a police officer, so you have to do these exercises, or you want to garden, so you got to do these exercises. And I think where I'm driven mostly is just showing them how to find freedom. And I think what I've done over the years and what's been successful for me and the people that I work with is really focusing on 3 different areas. And one of those, is we kind of talked about, was the sensitivity, like truly understanding the drivers behind your sensitivity. And that's not through exercise. Like exercise is something that I apply later. A lot of times you go into like PT clinics or like chiropractic clinics and these things where they start with movement, they start with exercise, and they start getting you strengthening, which is great. And there's always a time and a place for that. But focusing on desensitizing your pain system, and a lot of that starts with just kind of what you're doing on a daily basis. Like you make decisions on a daily basis, whether consciously or subconsciously, that sets you up for a higher level of sensitivity. So giving people the tools and the know-how of like, hey, let's look at how you move. And that's kind of like the second point that I try to focus with people, is looking at your movement. We kind of do a movement audit, not, hey, send me a picture of your poor posture. Okay, bring your shoulders back. Now your pain's gonna be gone. It's way deeper than that. It's like looking at how they move, how they clean their house, their habits, the way they look and think about things. A lot of times we walk around guarded, or people who are in chronic pain, they are very guarded. They're resistant to movement because they're fearful. So a lot of their being guarded and protected, like I call it your protection mechanism, right? When you're in pain, we kind of clam up and we tighten up and we protect, and our low back is tight because we're afraid of injuring. And it's showing people how to move, how to garden, how to change the tires on your car, change your oil, or whatever the random things that you like to do or used to be able to do, but you can't do now because of pain. It's showing them and kind of giving them these little cues to use in those moments, that we can get that freedom to desensitize the pain system through movement. And then we work on building strength and resilience around these activities. So that's where we're kind of going back into the gym. I teach people this idea that the right thing at the wrong time is still the wrong thing. And I apply that, I'm not sure who I heard that from, but I apply that a lot to what I do. It's, you are exercising, you're in the gym, you're doing boot camp classes, you stretch, 3 times a week, you go to yoga, you do all these things. But if you're doing them at the wrong time, if you're thinking that just doing those alone are going to help you, and you're trying to build this house of relief on sand or a rocky foundation, you're super sensitive, random things cause pain. If you don't focus on these simple things first, then the exercise and the fitness and the hiking and the kayaking and the long car rides and the time at restaurants, none of that's going to happen. And it's a matter of dialing these things in for each person, so that they see those quick wins and start seeing that reduction of sensitivity. And then it's really just adding back in the things that they've kind of given up due to fear, and they're really just kind of surprising themselves with more and more and more.
Yeah. I mean, that's an important thing, is those little quick wins up front, to keep people engaged and
building momentum.
Oh yeah. I've seen more when it comes to the people that I work with. I see more like quick wins and results and just like massive aha moments just by teaching people about pain. Like, and I do it through video. It's not like I'm on these Skype calls with people for hours. It's really kind of comes down to breaking down the most important things. Like, there's elements of your personality that you respond to pain in different ways, and a lot of it's just giving people resources, books that they can read, or apps or podcasts just like this that focus heavily on just the pain science, and getting almost like you have to step away from the fitness industry to really get to the good stuff on this, right? 'Cause I don't know any fitness person like who teaches push-ups and squats and losing weight that really talks. Obviously they're not in the pain space, but in the pain space, when it comes to that, even some of the rehab guys, like, they just focus so much on the rehab, like exercise,
just the movement stuff.
Yeah, tissue health, like all that's really important. But man, you have to step outside of that for right now, even though there's some guys in the rehab space who are doing awesome things with pain science. You really have to show them where to go to get really good information. And then once they're in that, it's just consuming and then applying it. Like, okay, you've learned this concept. You understand that you can have a herniated disc or a bulging disc and not have pain, and you can have pain, but they don't correlate. Just because you have a herniated disc doesn't mean that, oh, because you have that, you should also have pain, because that's also been proven not to be true. So once you show them this stuff, then you can get them back into movement, back into exercise, and they're doing it with more confidence. And it's just kind of getting them off of that. There's a pain, what's it called? I had it in my head. It's the Fear-Avoidance Model. Like, you have this injury, and there's two circles on both of these, on this model, right? There's one area where you hurt your back deadlifting, you start freaking out, you're worried, you go see a doctor, you get an MRI, they say you have a herniated disc, you start freaking out again, you go to rehab, you don't see results fast enough, and you get on this like cycle of pain and fear. And then you have this other side of this graph or model where you have the injury deadlifting, you're kind of worried, but you find someone who's like, hey, you know what? I know that you're in pain. Yeah, sure, your MRI does show that you have herniated discs and bulging discs or degenerative discs, or you're 67 years old, you're not a 20-something anymore, so therefore you're going to be in pain. Instead, they kind of like encourage them to say, hey, just because you have all of these markers doesn't mean that you should be in pain forever. Let's look at this stuff. Let's build more confidence and almost change the narrative around the way they view their injury.
Yeah.
Right? And if you can change their narrative and tell them a different story, then they can kind of start to rewrite their own brain-body connection. And that, it's just powerful. And it's complicated, and I'm not an expert at it. I'm not the best person to go to for it.
If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late. So having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's one scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out.
But the way I've been able to approach it with back specifically has just been really awesome.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's, a lot of times pain is how our body fixes things, right?
Yeah.
Or, the pain we're perceiving. So, sometimes, yeah, like you said, people need to learn that. You could take a regular sickness, right? If you get a cold and, all the symptoms that everyone wants to get rid of, like, oh, I have a headache and
a fever.
A fever, that's literally your body fighting, the flu, and so
Sweat
it's
it
actually,
out, baby.
it's actually a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And then if you try to get rid of those symptoms, well, now you may be interrupting what your body's trying to do, right? So you may not have the pain, but you're actually preventing the process, or the
healing process.
The healing process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's I'm not sure. You have to like kind of fact check this and make sure it's actually something that's worth talking about. But I saw some articles come out that have been supported by some pretty big organizations about inflammation and how we kind of we are addicted to these anti-inflammatory drugs, and what happens is, and they have some very small studies, nothing big yet, but they're kind of alluding to or trying to start support now that taking these anti-inflammatories is actually obviously hurting our body, because what we're trying to do is like, we have back pain, so we need to reduce
Mm-hmm.
our inflammation so the pain goes away. So we start popping these pills until, hoping that the pill or the pain goes away. But in reality, it's actually slowing the process.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're saying is it could actually prolong and create a chronic pain situation, because instead of allowing their body to use inflammation to fight the issue and to heal the tissue, they're just masking it and trying to shove away the inflammatory response, and it's just not good. It's not good.
I've seen that, and I personally agree with that. But I think part of that too, like if we go back to the fear and your relationship with pain, if all you're doing is trying to get it to go away by just taking this pill, like your relationship with pain and how you view it is not very healthy, right? Like you can take it as like an indicator or a cue of like, okay, like something is hurt. And maybe we do need to do something about it. But when you're constantly just trying to push it away, then anytime it comes back, you're almost like, you hit that fear, like, oh my God, I got to get this to go away as quick as possible. Whereas like if you can just, marinate it, manage it, then you're going to be a little bit more okay with it if it does come back.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're not perpetuating that cycle of fear and pain and all of that.
Yeah. I try to encourage, like, when I'm working with someone who's actually in pain, they're in the gym, and some people come in who just love being told that they're strong, right? That they're not fragile, that their spine is not broken. And that's enough, along with some good exercises and some more education. Like a lot of that's just enough to help them and get them back in the gym and feeling more confident. For those who are like really like hung up on like, should I have pain? Should I not have pain? If I have pain, should I stop working out? Should I not work out? Like, what's good pain? What's bad pain? And there's been research out there on like the pain scale model, right? And there was research that took two groups. One said, okay, only start working out if you have zero symptoms, right? You would grade your pain on a level 0. Those people who pursued exercise once they were at that place, that was one group. The second group was those who were given the freedom to operate and exercise under a 4 out of 10 pain scale. So if you go in the gym a little bit tight, you go in the gym a little bit, when you bend or when you twist, like something catches or tweaks, but it's still a 4 out of 10, nothing higher than a 4 out of 10, right? Those people were given freedom to exercise and move around. Both groups saw awesome success over the long run. So it gives people the freedom, like, sure, if you're very cautious, if you're like, no, like, I'm super scared, you can do that. Like, you can wait and really wait until your body is like completely rid of symptoms, for an extended period of time to start exercising again. Or this is what I try to push more people towards, is allow yourself to experience the pain, right? Pain it's not necessarily a bad thing, but now that we know that, let's put like a parameter on it. Let's put a limit on that, and let's just say 4 out of 10. And using that number scale has been massive. It's like RPE when you're in the gym. Like, it's like, okay, max out efforts 10 out of 10, RPE of like 7 or 8. That's leaving a few in the tank. You're kind of going about the same perspective as like, give yourself that grade, and then once you get there, if you think you're there, then just back off, and you're doing fine either way.
I like that approach.
And another thing I want to circle back around on that you mentioned was, this is a fine line, something we see too with our clients, for weight loss and fat loss, is people need to learn, they need some information, but then the biggest missing piece is the implementation.
Action.
Right? And that really is then what drives our services. I'm speaking for myself, is people need the coaching. Like, the information's out there, but people need the coaching for implementation and consistently implementing so that the things can actually work, right? Is that something you see too, that, or maybe struggle with, where people, they can hear so many voices and you have to get them to, kind of narrow things down and stay with stuff?
Oh, yeah. So the approach that I take is like very much as do the least amount of work to get the most results. Like, that's kind of what I try to get people to kind of sell out to, is, okay, let's remove everything you're doing. Because a lot of times people come into my world and they're seeing chiros, they're still doing, after 3 years, they're doing all their rehab stuff. and they're stretching, they're following some yoga class online, and they're doing all these things. And I'd tell them, if you're going to join this program, you're stopping everything. If we're working together, you're going to stop everything. Unless it's like medically given to you, like you have to be doing this, doctor's orders, then which I only work with people who've been cleared to exercise. So that's mostly never the case. But once they eliminate everything, they're already like, oh my gosh, it's almost like a breath of fresh air because they can do less. They don't have to worry about doing so much stuff. From there, how I do it is I go on a week-by-week basis, right? This week, you're only focusing on these 2 things. That's it, right? And I've kind of structured it over a period of time to every week they should be seeing wins in certain areas of their life, right? And it depends on the person, on what their life was like before coming to me. But that might be a win of, man, I'm walking again. I'm just walking again, right? And that's a huge win. Or I'm walking faster, or I'm walking longer. So everyone kind of has a different win at these different stages. But absolutely, like, it comes down to like keeping people accountable and encouraging them through the process. Like, you guys say it all the time, trust the process. And that's something that I say to people all the time. Like, trust me, like when you are in chronic pain and you're living with it, not just a couple of weeks of in pain, like you've been living with it for years, unless you have help and you have someone in your corner saying, I know you're in a flare-up, I know you've been doing all of these things and you've fallen off the horse, whatever triggered your pain, now you're in pain, you've got to have someone in your corner who's just like, look, I know how you're feeling, and I know it feels like you're going 5-10 steps back right now, but trust me, this is all a part of the process. Like, your body is so in tune and so used to experiencing pain, experiencing symptoms, that it wants to go back there. Like, if you get into like the neurological training and all that stuff, like these neural pathways are permanent. From my understanding as of today, neural pathways are permanent. Like, me personally, like I had like 6+ years of chronic back pain. I know it very intimately. So those neural pathways and how I feel and how I felt and the mindset that I had, all the things that I experienced during my worst times in pain, my body can go back there, right? So I have to keep myself accountable. I have to continue to do the things like stress management, get my body moving, like understand that I can't just like do some crazy thing sometimes. And the more you kind of come to terms with the process, and whether you are 1 year into your process, 6 weeks into your process, if you can bite off small chunks of things that you can control and then commit to changing those things, you do that, those small steps over 12 weeks or 6 months or a year, like people are literally changing their lives. And it's just, the way I look at it is just making small tweaks, making small commitments to small change and watching those things build over time. That's just been massive.
Yeah, and it's just so true in so many different realms, and it's just hard because no one wants to hear that.
Nobody wants to hear like, oh, just do less.
You know? But that's where, being honest and open and sharing your story and earning people's trust is so vital and key, so that it can help them.
They can buy in.
Yeah, buy in.
Yeah, it's hard because people want, when it comes to marketing, people want the sizzle, but you have to give them the steak later, right? And that's the biggest thing, like stretches, and they want the one exercise or the 3 best exercises for this. Yeah. And I hate it, man. Like, and even to this day, like I've been making content for years now, and like I still have a conviction with putting some stuff out there. And sometimes I have to tell myself, look, these are not the only best top 3 that you should ever do, right? But if putting this video out there is going to resonate with someone, and someone's going to be like, okay, like I'll just do these. I'll start here. Yeah. And I've had so many testimonials come from me just off of not even working with people, just off of just YouTube comments. Like, man, like I just applied these 3 things over the past 2 months, and my life has changed. Like, I've seen so many results. I was so afraid to do them, but now I do them, and I have more confidence in the gym. And again, it's leading with the sizzle and trying to give them the steak later, and it's just tough. And I know the weight loss space is the same thing. You want
Yeah.
fast results with minimal effort, eating whatever
Yeah.
you want. Like it's tough, but
I've come full circle on it too, where like you want to sell sustainability and the food freedom and these things that come from kind of putting in the work, but everyone wants to be toned, and they want 3 quick recipes, and but ultimately you just have to give people, like you said, what they want, give them the sizzle, so that you can then build the trust and hopefully deliver what they ultimately need. One thing that really resonated with me, to make it easier to kind of commit to that process of using more buzzword type things is shoot, I just lost my train of thought. When you were going, I was thinking about it. Let me see.
this happens to me daily, bro.
I swear, I'm gonna think of
This
it.
happens to me on a minute-to-minute basis, so you're good, man.
It
You're
was
good. Welcome to my brain.
man. That's how I know I'm getting old.
I don't ever say what I actually wanted to say because I've already forgotten what I wanted to say. So
That's-
I have to say
yeah.
something else new.
Yep, that's basically it.
I don't know. It's
Something
gonna-
that resonated with you, but you'll pick it up later.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out.
So what? I was so excited to tell you too. I was
It was
like,
about the full circle, like you kind of just going full circle and kind of you starting.
well,
off
it was with kind of a what giving people the content and man, I can't
Giving them
think
the
of
flash.
But yeah, anyways, and yeah, I'll see your back stuff, and take little nuggets away, and I'm sure it's stuff in your. Oh, I remember, it was okay. Here, yeah, I got it. Here it is.
Here we go.
So you have to remember when we're trying to simplify things online, right, and for content and things like that, a trade-off of simplification is nuance, right? So which is just true. And when knowing that as kind of a fact helps me realize, hey, actually, yeah, if I'm going to give someone these 3 foods, because I could be like, hey, there's these 3 foods, and the reality is you can make do with any foods, but so the nuance isn't that like these are the only 3 foods you have to eat, but we know, hey, there are 3 foods that maybe are really high in fiber, and they'll help you feel more full, right?
Yeah.
And you hate to put that out there because you don't want someone to think I have to eat these 3 exact foods, because there's nuance to it. They don't. But then the reality is, well, if someone does go eat these 3 foods
They're
or
gonna
adds
be
them
all
in, it's going to help them, right? And then then they consume more content and maybe then reach out and message you and ask questions, and then you can teach them the nuance, right?
Exactly. And that's like that, I don't know, flashy, catchy video title or subject matter, like brings people in and like being okay with like, okay, this is somebody's, they're getting into our message or what we believe. Whereas if you had a video title that was like how to, set up your nutrition so that you're good for the next 75 years of your life, no one's going to click on that.
Yeah.
Like nobody wants to hear that. And so they're not even going to get into the ecosystem at all. So it's like taking that up front of like, okay, this might not be optimal, but it gets someone foot in the door, and that's important.
Yeah. Perfect example. We have clients who are runners, and they'll hear our and ultimately our audience is people who are busy. They want to lose weight. They want to, get more fit, and they have limited time, right? Well, if you only have 3 hours a week, and you need to, do some resistance training, right? You need to do some walking because these are like working your muscular system, your joints, your tendons, and your base level of movement and cardiovascular fitness. And then, hey, there goes your 3 hours, right? Well, cool. Those are going to give you the most bang for your buck.
Yeah.
So people miss the nuance of we don't have a problem with like running or doing racing or pursuing that sport.
No.
If it, then you have more than 3 hours, knock yourself out, right? But if someone's just doing that and they're not doing these other things, then hey, we think that's actually a little misguided, right?
Yeah, like for our archetype, running's not the best option if you are limited and busy and all of that.
Yeah, but then people will be like really upset or miss the nuance of, oh, y'all must hate running, right? And it's, no, it's just hard in 30-second clips online or
to explain all of this
in a GIF or a post to get into that nuance, right?
Absolutely.
So in your world, it's with exercise and everything, it's even tougher, right?
Yeah.
So
and
that's
it's very hard because I'm just extremely long-winded and I'm trying to like work on that. But the other side of it is like I'm very much a context person. So what I've tried to do, what I'm doing now more with content now, just to kind of reach more people, is looking at what are people already putting out there that's just junk, right? Like this stretch, this yoga routine. Like I have a whole next week I'll have a video on one of the biggest yoga YouTube channels. I'm probably gonna get roasted for this, but it's one of the biggest yoga channels on YouTube. But I'm pulling out one video on back pain, and she says do this for back pain relief, and 90% of it's garbage, and I just don't like it. I would never apply it in a back pain situation. So my goal is to just educate people in that place, like, hey, like you're already going to be told all these stretches work for back pain. So instead of that, let's take approach of like, this is why you shouldn't do it, right? Like this, I'm going to say no to this because no one else is going to say it. So I'm going to say no to this, and this is why I'm going to say no to this, and this is what you should do instead. And that's kind of the approach that I've been taking lately, is just trying to get into more people's ears. It's just kind of pulling out what they're already being told and just kind of attack that. But yeah, simplicity, like all that stuff, man, all that is just ringing so true. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and it's hard when there's so much information out there.
Yeah.
Like, and then like for you, like having to filter for people is hard. I don't know. Was it you did a video on, I don't know if it's the one coming out. Was it the Prone Cobra? I think I saw that pop up.
Yep. I have a YouTube video that did pretty well years ago that says stop doing the Cobra pose.
Yeah. I feel like you posted it recently or something about it. I just saw it pop up on your gram, I think. But anyways, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one of the things. It's like, and I know what you're saying. I did a reel yesterday, I think, on an alternative to the Cobra pose. And
you go.
It did well. Like, and that's the thing. It's like we're told to stretch. We're told that, the Jefferson curl. We should all be able to do the Jefferson curl. So then the person with back pain does the Jefferson curl, and it messes their back up because their body's not ready for it. Like, I'd rather just say, no, don't do the Jefferson curl. But of course, there's always context. Like, if you were to sit down with me and ask me questions like this and say, hey, do you not like the squat? I'd be like, no, I think the squat is a great exercise, it's a great movement, but I also have a video on YouTube where it says, hey, you should just stop squatting. And this is why. If you have back pain, if you're experiencing this, you can't get over it. You don't want to invest a bunch of time in learning technique and form, and you just want to lose weight, play with your kids, and go kayaking, then sure, stop squatting. And here are some alternative exercises that will build strength in your legs, that will protect your back, and we'll all win. It's a win-win situation. So absolutely, man, 100%.
Yeah.
Context is hard. It depends. That's always the answer.
So I have a real serious question.
Okay, shoot it.
I see. So you moved to Florida, and you're closest. The biggest city that you're closest to is Tampa, right?
Yep.
Then I see in all your videos you have like a Miami Marlins hat on.
Marlins?
Is it Marlins?
I've got you'll only ever see me wearing a Washington Nationals hat, an Orioles hat, or that's it, man.
What is,
Marlins.
okay, because I was like, did they change their logo? I couldn't figure out.
I do have I've been getting, it's funny, I have this this hat from.
Yeah, what's that yellow, with the yellow, it looks like an M?
Yeah, that's a coaching, I'm a part of like a business coaching group, and
okay.
That's just his brand.
I was like, that must be, did the Miami Marlins change their logo? Like, I was like, why is he wearing a Marlins hat? Like,
yeah, I had a guy walking, but hey, like, he was trying to like name the team, and I'm like, dude, I don't even worry about it. This is not even a team.
You've been going for a while.
Yeah, man. I've been laying up at night for weeks, like
Googling.
What is this?
Circa 1900 logos.
Yeah, man.
That's funny. No,
Okay,
I'm
well.
not a Marlins fan.
Question
I'm
answered.
a Buccaneers fan and a Broncos fan through and through.
I should have just asked, so I could have gotten the nuance of the situation.
You should have, man. You assumed.
I know you jumped to conclusions.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
All right. Well, I feel better now.
You're gonna be able to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Finally.
I'm going to 2 national games next weekend against the Braves.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Saturday and Sunday game.
Where's it at?
Nationals Park.
Okay. I figured
yeah.
you weren't gonna drive down to Atlanta, but
DC.
you never know.
Yeah.
So
do you like thoroughly enjoy sitting at baseball games?
yes, I mean, so I can't really watch. I grew up playing baseball, loved playing baseball. I never became like a diehard fan, whereas like with football, I'm like diehard Washington Commanders fan, formerly known as Washington Redskins. And
they're Commanders now?
Yeah, Commanders.
When did that happen?
Like last year?
Well, they announced the name probably like a few months ago.
Was it a few months?
Yeah.
Time is just so artificial now.
They're called the Washington Commanders.
Commanders,
Yeah.
man.
The
Logo look like?
the only team with a 3-syllable nickname.
Commanders.
So it's like a ugly W and then like a patch, like a decal patch of like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even know what their logo looks like.
The name all the fans wanted was Red Wolves. Red Wolves was in the running.
Red.
Because then we could be like howling at the moon and stuff like that. But
Instead
anyways,
of just howling when you're mad.
Yeah.
howling when yeah.
so but I was a diehard football fan, but baseball, take it or leave it. And I could never sit and watch games on TV, but I do love going, especially to pro games, because the stadium, the
It's an
grass, the
experience.
smell, the food, baseball's a slower game, so it's just you're chilling. You can go get a hot dog. You can come back. You can talk with people. Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it.
Okay.
But yeah, I wouldn't want to do it like all the time. I wouldn't want season
Nah.
tickets or nothing.
No way.
Yeah,
So,
it's tough.
yeah,
It's just it's just such a because I have a very similar story. We grew up playing baseball, love the sport. I'm pumped that my son now is playing baseball. Like it's just really cool to see it go full circle. But man, like I think it's just like my attention.
Mm-hmm.
Just man, when I'm sitting there, I'm like halfway through. I'm like, dude, I gotta
Yep.
do something. I gotta get up and walk around.
That's-
I got to like,
Yeah.
or be eating something or drinking. I just have to be doing something.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
That's my hard part with
Yeah,
it.
so I'll say like that's where for me like the baseball game is definitely about the entire experience of the food I'm going to be eating, having some
The
beers,
crowd and- yeah.
walking around the stadium with all the little things they have going on. So yeah, it's definitely not for me just the game. Which some
Yeah.
people I'm going with like yeah, they
love it.
love the like they'll some people will keep a box score while they watch the game, right? It's like about the game.
Yeah.
But for me it's more that total experience,
Yeah,
right?
that's we went to
So-
a Cubs game years ago.
Yeah.
When we were in Chicago, it hit like 7th inning. We were done.
Yeah.
That was it,
Yeah.
man. Like
Dude, yeah.
it just gets so slow. And like I played baseball when I was younger. Like I didn't play like up into high school or anything. So like I know the game. I played it. I enjoyed playing it. But watching it
Yeah.
live is better. TV,
Yeah.
I would rather jump off the roof. But yeah, like the food helps, and it was cool. Like we were, in Chicago, and that stadium is
Yeah,
dope,
it's
and
like-
there's a lot of history to it, and that was really neat. But yeah, 7th inning, man.
Yeah.
If I had been like with you, I probably would have been completely fine.
Yeah. And if it's a good
because you're like
game-
more interested, and Whitney could take it or leave it, and so we were both kind of like, man, we're done. And
Yeah.
then we bounced early.
Yeah, and I definitely will appreciate if the game is tight at the end,
Yeah.
because I did play and do understand the nuance and the drama that comes with it. Whereas on the flip side, NFL game or a college football game, I could go. You could tell me, hey, you can't drink, you can't eat, you need to just
You
sit
don't
there and
even
watch
care.
the game, and I would be on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Yeah.
So
I actually have what's his name? I feel dumb for not knowing his name, but I'm in a men's group at my church, and the pitcher for the Padres is actually in the group. So it's cool to be able to,
Oh, dang.
to chat with him. I think Padres pitcher. I'm trying to. I know his first name's Austin. It's Austin. Got a big red beard. I think
Austin Adams.
Yes, he's.
Yeah.
I think he's injured or he hurt his shoulder or something
Yeah.
like that. But apparently he's pretty good. I didn't meet. Yeah, Austin Adams. I didn't know him until.
Did you know he's from Tampa?
He's from Zephyr Hills, man.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know that until. I don't know. He was just talking about something one day, and he's like, "Yeah, like I'm just a good old boy from Zephyr Hills." I'm like, "Bro, I lived in Wesley Chapel for like 4 years. That's like, Zephyr Hills is like, yeah, it's cool to see something so awesome, come from someone that's so local to here. But he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Really cool guy.
Cool, man. Well, we appreciate having you on. What's a good way? So I know You're pretty active on your Instagram. I know you also have a YouTube. Your Instagram handle is fitness for the numeric
Number
4.
4. Don't get it twisted. Although I think I own both .coms, but let's just keep it number 4.
Yeah,
Keep it
so
original.
fitness for back pain is his Instagram handle. And yeah, what's
Is your YouTube the same?
Yeah, I think it's just fitness, the number 4 back pain, and you can catch it on anywhere. I mean, I think I try to leave and like give people something to work on. So if anyone listening wants to like kind of dive deeper into like my perspective of like very simple yet powerful things that you can change like right now before you walk into the gym, as it pertains to building out your workout for the day, the order of exercises, how I look at core training, all the things that, you know, back pain sufferers really struggle with, you can go to fitnessforbackpain.com/pain-free training. fitnessforbackpain.com/pain-free training. And it's a free guide. You can just download it, and it basically just give you everything that we kind of talked about now today on the podcast, but give it into more of like an actionable step-by-step, like do this in your workout, and you'll actually see the fruit from it pretty quickly. So just go grab that.
Nice. Appreciate your time, man. And
Man, thanks for having me on.
let us know you're back in town. I was looking through old pictures. I was looking for a certain picture with the gym with Coastal Strength and Fitness, and I realized there was a picture of we had of you working out, and it was before. It was kind of when I was starting to get some equipment. I hadn't even opened yet.
Wow.
So like you were the first person to work out at the original location.
Number 1.
So yeah.
I love it, man. I think I think congrats to you guys, man. Just what you have going on over at Coastal, like if there's anybody, I have a lot of conversations with people locally here about like opening gyms and people wanting to do it, and man, if there's ever a gym that comes out of my mouth more than anything else, is your gym. Like what you guys do, the coaches you guys have, like just the loyalty that's there when it comes to your coaches, and like it's just, you don't find places like that. Like it's very much a turn and burn kind of industry. Coaches come and go, but y'all just have something very special, man, and it's awesome. And I think it needs to be known how to be done on a global standpoint, because I think it's just not, you just don't see it, man. Like, and I mean, you can go to any of the strength focused gyms here locally, and it's just not, it's just, it has a yucky feel to it, and they're going out of business. Nobody's sustainable. It's, I don't know what you guys are doing on the inside, man, but keep doing it because you guys are crushing it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Thanks, yeah.
I mean, I think for one, I was a trainer, right, and lived it for such a long time, so I know how it felt, the way the industry's shaped in that job, and it's just, the industry is still so young that, I mean, think about it. If you're like a dentist or in a dental assistant, right, like there's a certain level of expectation, and you know, no one's a dental assistant and then it's like, oh, I gotta go get a real job, you know.
Yeah.
But the training industry, if someone's just like, I'm a coach, trainer, it's like, oh, okay, well then they gotta go eventually get a real job, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's still the perception, but you know, trying to build in like, you know, salaried pay and stability and consistency and time off and things like that. Yeah, you got to treat it like a real job, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in a business group with a lot of other gyms, and yes, still in general across the board, most gyms still kind of operate the same, right? Like, and they struggled with turnover and all that, and yeah, so it's really just treating it like that. Now, for the owner, right? It means up front you may make less money, but you have to see the bigger picture and just care more, right? Like what kind of environment do you want to create and be around? But yeah, that could be a whole nother podcast.
That could be a whole other podcast. We'll talk about it when you come in town.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully as the industry keeps growing, and yeah, we need it more and more, right? Like more people are in pain, more people are overweight. The answer isn't always just surgery and medical stuff, right? So who's going to bridge that gap in between? You know, and hopefully like, yeah, better and better and more fitness people, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, keep moving forward.
That's awesome, guys.
All right. Yeah. And if you're listening and you're interested, we also have a online group trying to lose weight, lose body fat, Fat Loss Secrets for Busy Adults. You can search for that on Facebook. It's on there, or we'll also have it linked along with all of Will's stuff. So we'll link
Socials.
to all of Will's socials, his YouTube, in the show notes as well. And as always, we appreciate you for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
See ya. As always, thanks for listening, guys. If you want to learn more, check us out at coastalfitnessva.com or garydeagle.com. We'll see you next time.